This segment brought to you by Sure Crop, liquid crop nutrition delivered right to your farm.
We're back. Now Duane and Jim Nelssen are discussing swine production right here in Kansas.
Duane Toews joining you once again on Ag AM in Kansas, and a chance to catch up with Dr. Jim Nelssen at Kansas State University in the Swine Department. Jim, we think about swine production in Kansas, a vibrant industry that continues to grow in areas, others maybe not so much, but there's a lot of good things that are going on.
There is a lot of good things. We are pretty much Harvard in the Midwest here in terms of the Corn Belt, and we can set on the outside, as you mentioned, in some very biosecure areas in the western part of our state. Our industry continues to grow and prosper, and a lot of that's due to the technology and profitability that's returned to our industries the last couple years.
It is an industry that has changed in the dynamics of it over time, and we still see some changes. Obviously, there's room for individuality in each operation. Guys just got to figure out what makes it work on their place.
Yes, in the meetings this morning here at the Ag Summit, we talked to everything from niche marketing, which gives all producers a chance to market their pork, all the way up to some of the new packing plants that are being built throughout the nation and close to Kansas here, and the opportunities to grow our industry, as you mentioned, Duane. Lots of opportunities increase swine production in the Midwest and specifically in Kansas.
We think about why some of those things, apparent ridiculous supply of feed grains, a big part of that.
Yeah, we see grain sorghum. Of course, we've did a lot of the original research. Grain sorghum coming back in the equation for a lot of production systems where we used to just be corn-based. Now we feed a lot of grain sorghum. In the last couple of years, and unfortunately for some of our wheat farmer friends, we fed a lot of wheat to pigs. So there's always opportunities to use alternative grains as well as our staples that we have here in Kansas to grow our industry.
Talking about the consumer side, consumer acceptance, we've done a tremendous job at working to get that in a package that meets their needs.
Yeah, we've really learned the last few years, and I sat on the executive board of the Kansas Pork Association. They've done a great job explaining to our clientele and to our producers that people want to know where their food is raised, and it doesn't matter whether you're talking beef or wheat, and they want to know how it's raised. And so what we're really doing is getting the producers, those people that raise a wholesome product, and also then one that is extremely safe, on camera, on Facebook, online, and that way people can see who's raising their food, and that's why the demand for pork has grown so rapidly.
The other option as well that kind of dovetails with that, pork product, pretty versatile, I guess is a good way to put it. We see some of the national companies with the prepackaged stuff that's marinated, and it's pretty hard for the average consumer not to get that done right.
You know, it's amazing. I gave talks in the 80s, and I said that, bacon would not be the staple of our industry. But if you look at the most profitable cut in a pig today, it is the belly or where the bacon comes from. And I also teach at the university. And on a lighter note, Duane, I always tell the students when they're taking a quiz, I don't care if it's on wheat or beef or what it's on. If you don't know the answer, just write down bacon, and every professor will give you partial credit because it's such a good product. Now, you talked about the marinated products. They're going like wildfire across the nation. The pork shoulders, a cut that we used to not think would be as high value, is extremely well accepted now in pulled pork. And then we haven't even talked about the tremendous increase in export of pork. We export about 26 to 27% of the pork raised in the U.S., and so we're just on a roll in terms of demand for our product.
All right, thanks to Jim Nelssen at Kansas State University in the Swine Department on campus, joining us with an update on the swine industry here in the Heartland. Jamie, we'll send it back to you.
Thanks, Duane. Come back after the break for this week's Angus Report.
I had this horse. It was a good horse, except when the wind was blowing above 30 miles an hour. Wind was blowing about 35, 40, and I saddled him up, rode him out to the end of the lane, and I thought, well, he's doing pretty good. And about 6 jumps later, I was laying on the ground and thinking, boy, my shoulders sure hurt. I kept waiting, and it didn't get better, and so I went to an orthopedic surgeon, and that showed that I had torn rotator cuff. He said, well, I have to do surgery. I thought, I farm and ranch by myself. This is not going to work out very well. I'd been sleeping in my recliner for about 2.5 years because it hurt too much to sleep in bed on my side. I'd heard about Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center on the radio. Gotten down there at 8 o'clock in the morning, and by 11:30 the procedure was all over. They just took some fat out of my side here and spun that down for about 45 minutes and then injected it in my shoulders, and I was on my way. It's something you don't hear about, but I thought it was worth a try, and I'm really pleased. It's really worked out well for me.